Hey, happy last Sunday of the month, March 30th. It's the last Sunday of the month. That must mean it's time for Sippin My Tea. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Hope that you had a great weekend. We've got lots to talk about today. So I appreciate you joining me. First of all, what am I drinking? I always start off with that. Well, I am really honored to have an amazing tea maker in the second district. It's called the Tea Book, and I actually have their full book of tea. Thank you, Noah Bleish, the proprietor who created this company in honor of his mother, Linda. How beautiful. And for Women's History Month, he's got a box set of amazing teas. Isn't that amazing? And I am currently drinking my favorite, which is Arminta Ross, also known as Harriet Tubman. And what's in Arminta Ross? Arminta Ross has spearmint and orange spice. I feel a little spearminty and orange spice. So that's the tea I'm sipping. Please check out the tea book. Again, they're in the second district, and you can find them at www.theteabook.com. They have a Black History box set. Each of the tea bags have unique art, funny play on names. This one is in honor of Florence Nightingale, and so it's nighttime tea. And of course, you see RBGT. Is that amazing? And it's a different artist that designs every tea bag. So check out the tea book. Thank you, Noah. So I'm drinking some tea in honor of Harriet Tubman as we wrap up Women's History Month. Had an opportunity to participate on Friday with Mount St. Mary's. Since 2016, I have served as Mount St. Mary's legislator in residence. I call it my side hustle. It's a free side hustle because I don't get paid. But it's a wonderful opportunity for me to stay connected to young, emerging leaders. At the time, the Mount was in my Senate district, and they invite me every year to their big luncheon where they launch their report on the status of women and girls in California. When I was in the state legislature, we relied on their data as the Women Caucus, as we talked about legislative remedies. And the focus of this year's report was, the impact of women and girls in the entertainment industry. I had the opportunity to interview some amazing screenwriters and directors and producers and an academic that really talked about representation in the media and the impact that has on our image. We talked, of course, as always, about pay inequity. But I encourage you to take a look at the report. It's very informative. You can find the report at msmu.edu/status of women. That's Mount St. Mary's University edu/status of women. And a great way, I think, to wrap up your Women's History Month and to get some data on the impact on that industry and just the status of women and girls, both in the state of California and LA County. What are we going to talk about today, Supervisor? Well, let me tell you, I am really excited. I have really been focusing this calendar year on hyperlocal. What can we do? How can we focus our efforts in a hyperlocal way? Because my goal is to leave the second district better than I found it when I got elected to it in 2020. And one of the amazing projects we are working on is something called participatory budgeting. We are now kind of calling it community budgeting, so people really understand what it means. And so it really represents, from my perspective, my office's commitment to what we call co-governance. It really takes it a step further. This is the first ever participatory budgeting process for LA County, and it puts the decision-making power directly in the hands of the community. This is an image on the screen now of when we launched participatory budgeting, maybe 2 years ago. It was a rainy day there at the Yvonne Burke Senior Center in the second district. We were in their community room. And that's the image on your right is the committee, the executive committee that's governing both of these communities. So let me tell you a little bit more about it. So what we did, I set aside $1 million out of my discretionary fund that will be split between two unincorporated communities, Florence Firestone and Ladera Heights. We received some additional funding from Reimagine LA. Thanks, Reimagine LA. So we have a total of $1.7 million going towards making ideas provided from residents in these two communities a reality. The two communities identified their own challenges in their communities and identified their own opportunities and solutions. So I also want to note that we've had support in this from a consulting group and a nonprofit organization. Tres Luna Consulting and the Participatory Budgeting Project are key partners in this initiative. They have been with us every step along the way to provide training to our community leaders and my staff and I on how you go about building a participatory budget project. So in this pilot, so this is a pilot, and my goal is to see this expand to more unincorporated communities in my district, since those are the areas that I am their local government. You know, many other cities, including the city of LA, have citizen-driven initiatives, and some of them, the city of LA, they actually have a budget. The county unincorporated communities don't. And so this is our way of engaging community, giving you resources to solve for your own problems. And a key part of the program is the advisory committee that comprised of residents from both Florence Firestone and Ladera Heights. And the advisory committee helped to review all the ideas submitted to help identify the top ones to be voted on. And some of the ideas that were submitted range from more green space to providing direct cash assistance to help residents who are trying to keep themselves from falling into homelessness. So what you see on the screen here are some of the winners. Now, how did they win? Community residents actually voted. We pushed this out, and we had community organizations, homeowners groups, schools helped us push the information about community budgeting out. People nominated, came up with ideas, and then got to vote on them. I didn't pick. Residents who live in those communities, Ladera Heights and Florence Firestone, actually voted on the ideas that they wanted to bring to fruition. And here they are. These are some of the actual winners for those two communities. I'm really glad to also be joined today by two members of the committees, a resident of Florence Firestone and a resident of Ladera. So please welcome Garrett, a lifelong second district resident, as he says, from Inglewood and a couple stops to Ladera. Garrett's interest is what he calls intragenerational communication and trust. I love that. And Elena, a resident of Florence Firestone, who's an attorney with a strong interest in public service. She grew up in Florence Firestone and always had a desire to contribute to her community's well-being. And I hope you feel your participation in our participatory budgeting process did just that. So welcome to you both.
Welcome. Hello, Supervisor.
Oh, hello. Okay, so tell me, you have to start because we sipping tea. What tea are you all drinking today?
I'll start. I'm drinking chamomile tea with RBG.
I love that.
I'll have to send you one of the RBG tea bags. You can have RBG in your RBG cup. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I saw it. I'm like, oh, wow. I need to get that. I need to go buy that.
Yes. Garrett, what are you sipping on?
I love the art, Elena, on your cup, but I got my plain cup. You can't really see it in my background, but a custom blend from Napoli Naturals down in Leimert Park. You can go get a bunch of different herbal tea, dandelion root, cumin, all types of stuff in it. So
beautiful. We recognize that the proprietors of Napoli Naturals for Black History Month, and they actually came down to the Hall of Administration. We recognize them. I sit down here because I'm in my downtown office today. So thank you both for joining.
Of course, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Elena, let me start with you. If, a Martian were to land on your front lawn and say, I saw you on Sippin My Tea, and you were talking about community budgeting. What is that? Could you explain it to me? Because the supervisor didn't make it clear. How would you explain community budgeting to said Martian?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's a democratic process in which community members play a part and have a say in how the money is spent in their own communities.
That is an excellent way. And I'm so glad Reimagine LA thought enough of the work we were doing to add to the budget. So now we have more money to go to both of your communities. I appreciate that. Garrett, you both have been involved since the very beginning. Sometimes I lose track of time. I feel like it's been a year and a half that we've been working on this. Yeah.
Maybe more than that. Yeah.
It may be closer to 2 years. Mm-hmm. So for you, what's been the most memorable part of this process?
Wow. I mean, from start to finish, it's just been meeting the other folks who are interested in doing this work, right? This idea of a community budget is kind of radical. And I was interested in just seeing who else is interested. You know, that was my big thing. And I loved when we got to get together and come up with the ideas and the sort of things that what we wanted for our communities. But yeah, for me, it's just like getting together with a variety of people around a radical idea.
And and it is radical. This is the first that we've launched in LA County. And I hope that it doesn't continue to be perceived as radical, because I completely agree with you, as well as Elena's description of how she would describe it to the Martian. It's really about community residents being empowered to determine how money is spent in their community. And for me, it's also, again, keeping it hyper local, but relying on community to help us to come up with solutions. That's what excites me so. And I know Cynthia flashed on the screen some of the projects that won and will be funded. So I'm really excited about it. What the two of you are you most excited about seeing come to fruition in your communities? I hope you all remember what some of the winners were. So what are you most excited about?
I think for me, okay. I think for me it would be the nourishing our neighborhood one, because I'm very passionate of having green space, having more greenery, especially in Florence Firestone. I grew up here, I live here. And for me, whenever I go outside, I'm like, oh, there should be more trees, there should be more shade, it should be more beautiful. So for me, when I saw nourishing our neighborhood one, I'm like, yes. I was hoping it was one of them. So I'm very happy and I can't wait to see it when it becomes a reality.
Excellent. So Nourishing Our Neighborhood, a green space initiative, is a community initiative to plant more trees and install planters to enhance community health and quality of life. Beautiful. Garrett, which one are you most excited about?
For me, it's a similar one. I think Ladera also had a kind of community beautification idea too. When we were going through the process, we realized that even though Florence and Ladera are two very different communities, we're sort of like so many people drive through our communities, work in our communities, go to school in our communities, and it's important that like we all feel comfortable around where we are so much, right? So yeah, for anything that would beautify the area and make it more comfortable for people to walk and ride their bikes and stuff.
And so that one, I think, is the Tree and Common Area Improvement Project. It provides community signs, climate-specific trees, and landscaping. Support underdeveloped areas by providing drought-tolerant plants, lighting, and outdoor art, requiring a strong community engagement plan. Isn't that interesting? Well, we often talk about, I serve on the Metro Board, and we often talk about the lack of tree canopy, particularly in South LA and the entire second district. So I do think it's wonderful that one of the projects that both of the communities identified will be a community greening project. I love the native plants that are drought tolerant, and that they're both going to require community engagement to help design them and to help us maintain them. So I appreciate that too.
Yes, yes.
In closing, I'll ask you both, because you're right, Garrick, we were really thoughtful in terms of when we looked district-wide at all of the unincorporated communities in the second district. We were strategic in terms of this pilot, the two communities we selected. And so what have you learned about your own community, as well as Florence Firestone, having spent this almost 2 years in community with each other? What did you learn that you didn't know?
For me, I'll go, very quickly. From what I learned from Florence Firestone is that they have a lot of people who are dedicated to their community and dedicated to helping those of them who have the least, right? And have the least access and don't know about things. Like I was really impressed by their desire to like change the minds of people who don't know, if that makes sense. And from my side, it was just, again, I wanted to see what my neighbors thought about this radical idea, right? And so it was a great opportunity to meet different people from Ladera, people who could be my aunt, my uncle, my cousins, so.
Yeah, and I would say similar to Garrick, I feel like learning from Ladera and Florence Firestone kind of contrasting it. We're so diverse, but yet we're so similar. We all want the same core desires, which is safety, security, beautiful spaces, just community and opportunity. So that's what I learned. I'm like, okay, we're very similar. We all have same desires. Once again.
And you both hit it right on the head. When I first ran for office in 2010, and found myself, in community, kind of outside of my normal realm. We all kind of get up, go to work. Back then, I had a school age child, take him to school, go to work. We kind of were on autopilot. And as a candidate, I found myself spending more time in communities kind of outside of my regular routine. And I discovered that, Elena, everybody wants the same thing wherever you live.
Mhm.
Everybody wants green space. Everybody wants a wonderful school in their neighborhood that their children can go to. Everyone wants to have a sense of belonging and a community that they feel safe in and they feel seen in. So I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm glad that you two, as well as I hope the rest of the committees, the overarching kind of governance committee that kind of helped us frame the whole thing, and then the committees from the two communities, I hope everybody felt the same way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you both for stepping up and being of service to both your own community and the entire second district. And I thank you for your time today. I can't wait until we launch these projects and they are live and happening in Florence, Firestone, and Ladera. Thank you both.
Thank you,
Thank
Supervisor.
you.
Thank
right.
you, Elena. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Excellent. So we're in the process of soon announcing the community organizations that'll be receiving grant funding to help us implement the winning ideas. And I look forward to sharing updates once the projects are completed. We will come back and have pictures, or we may go live from the projects in the two communities for a future Sipping My Tea. I appreciate that. So before I sign off, let me just say we started Sipping My Tea in 2020 when I was in the state legislature during COVID at my dining room table in Sacramento. And I'm thrilled to know that a number of my legislative colleagues in Sacramento have launched their own versions of Sipping My Tea. I see you, ladies. You're welcome for the idea. That's 2 or 3 members of the Women's Caucus who have some version of tea podcast. I see you. Y'all better give me some credit for having given you the idea. As you all know, tomorrow is Cesar Chavez Day. We will honor that here at LA County. And we are celebrating what would have been his 98th birthday. And he has so many teachings and writings and quotes that I admire. But this one rang powerful to me, particularly now, considering what we are experiencing. Talk is cheap. It's the way we organize and use our lives every day that tells what we believe in. Happy end of Women's History Month. Happy birthday to Cesar Chavez. Let's remember what he lived, the example he set, given the role he played in organizing and representing underrepresented workers. And I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday evening. And we'll look to see you in April, the last Sunday of the month, for another episode of Sipping My Tea. Be well, and thanks for joining us.